This is Josh Hunter. I'm presently in the city of Santa Monica, California. So I found this American flag, and I thought to myself, I was studying it. I was looking at it. I'm like, man, this thing's pretty valuable. And so I thought of this like really neat drinking game. It's not a game, but a drinking ceremony that you can do when you want to celebrate this flag of the United States. Doesn't necessarily mean you're celebrating all the United States, but you're celebrating the United States that we have right now. So what you do is you get an area, and you put it like a blue. You color it blue, like a blue area, a blue square, and you fill it with 50 tables or 51 tables. How many states do we have? I think it's 51, right? I could be wrong. I think it's 51 states. And you have 51 tables, and you have 5 seats at each table. And I guess the table's got to be white I mean, if you're doing this flag. But you have a person sitting at each point of the table. And at each table they are playing at least 3 songs written by the White Stripes. Over and over and over and over and over again. So each table can choose like what 3 White Stripes songs they want to hear over and over and over again. And while they're doing this, each person has 1 Red Stripe beer that they drink. And the beer, the Jamaican beer, Red Stripe. And I thought this is pretty neat because there are 13 stars and stripes, right? Sounded pretty cool. Like when I was thinking about it, I'm like, oh, that'd be neat. But I don't know. I mean, that's like a ceremony. But I don't know if it's a ceremony for what. I want to see what happens. Like if that's like a spell or something. And so if you have 5 people sitting at each table, each one drinking 1 Red Stripe. Actually, and also you have an alternate as well. If there's someone who can't get 5 people to sit with them, then that person has their own table, and then they drink 5 beers. And you don't necessarily, like, it just has to, each person, there has to be at least 5 beers drunk at each table. So if you could only get like 4 people to sit together, or then only like 1 person to sit together or whatever. So for example, if you could only get 2 people to sit with you at a table, then those 2, one would have to drink 2 beers, one would have to drink 3 beers. But there's 5 beers per table. And, there's 51 tables, or 1 table for each state for this flag. And so there are 3. Oh, why did I say 3? Oh, shit. Oh, okay, wait a minute, because there's 5 points. Alright, and then there's 3. Oh, I was trying to help me. Oh, this is supposed to help me remember something, just in case I forget. I don't know. This is supposed to help me remember something. I don't know if it's of any value to you. So you might say, why only 3 Red Stripes, or wait, is it 3 White Stripes, and 7 or 3 red stripes? Well, I just need to. Okay, because yesterday when I was looking at the flag, I realized this seems like pretty top-notch stuff, but I figure nobody gives a shit, and that's why I've been homeless for 8 years. So anyway. The blue space occupies no more than 7 striped units, is what I learned while studying the flag. And I think that's important. There's some places that you go, and you want to make sure that's something that you can remember. That in this American flag that we have, the blue space does not occupy more than, as far as like a width or whatever, of more than 7 stripes. 3 of those stripes red, 5 of those stripes white. And I think depending on where the United States goes as a country, like over the next, like if we survive like the next 500 years, if in 500 years there's still the United States of America, I think that's something that's important to remember. Because that would be so far away, like why would you be concerned about that? If you loved this United States that they have right now. So that didn't mean like when there was like 49 states, or when there were like 30 states or whatever. It is talking about these 51 states. And but then you, oh, that's 13. Stars and stripes. 13 stripes. Yeah, there's an implication of a relationship, an implication of an association, and so I need to make sure that I remember this. So I wouldn't call it a party, but it's a ceremony. I don't know what kind of ceremony. The relationship that I'm trying to remember is that, you know, I brought up this once, that 6 circles of equal size fit around 1 circle of that same size. And that's like a kind of clue to help you remain in this world, where that isn't that's a very firm rule, a very firm aspect of reality. And so I happen to like the United States, even though I've been, I've been treated the best, but there's, if you consider the entire sum of human history, I've been treated pretty damn well. In fact, even like if you consider only like 30% of human history, I've still been treated pretty well or something. So I wanted to make sure that, because I don't have any ceremony to celebrate where I feel like I'm celebrating the United States, where I've been living here, for many years, and so I want to make sure that I'm giving proper, because I mean, you could pretend like you could throw a 4th of July celebration, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're celebrating the United States. You could be celebrating when it was just 13 colonies. You could be celebrating when there were other times. So this ceremony is for when you want to celebrate this flag that we have right now, because there were other flags with all these different stars and different designs, and those literally may have been different countries. We just call it the same name. So I want to make sure, because I mean, yeah, things are going a little wonky right now, but that doesn't mean that that's something being worked out, I think, anyway. So if anyone wants to try this, because I would never arrange this. I would never say, hey guys, let's do this. But if somebody wanted to do this, I'd like to see it happen, because you guys are people who think like it's a good idea to throw themed parties, they like to do this kind of stuff. So I thought I'd throw you guys a bone or something. I don't throw that type of party. I mean, if I ever throw a party again, it's not. I mean, I need people who know how to party. I need to make sure that people know, because when you got amateurs in there, it's like a completely different thing. And I need to make sure that people, anyone who comes to a party like with intent to fight, that's not my party. All right, that person doesn't belong to me. If you come to a gathering that's designed for comfortable celebration between and amongst human beings, and you come there to want to fight, then that's not my party. And that person is not a part of my society. You want to fight, you go somewhere else. No fighting here. Understood? So yeah, I thought that'd be a nice way to celebrate. You get 50 tables, and later on, I think, like, if I ever get into because I always wanted to get into tabletop gaming. I wanted to make my own tabletop game, and I tried to start writing it. I called it Hyper Autonomy. It was a very complex system of matching, and I tried to write it, and it was just so complex. Like, there's no way I could do it without like a computer and people who wanted to do it, and I'm not really. It seems dangerous to me anyway. I probably shouldn't do this. So I want to see if anybody's. I know my concept, and I know how far I've developed it, but I want to see if anybody else comes up with the same idea and see if they do it. I'd rather someone else do this than me. So I'm just gonna keep, because I haven't kept an eye on video games and tabletop games, so I don't necessarily know like all the things that are going on in those industries. And I don't like to be like I don't want to be like some guy like, oh, you made this game, you helped do this. I'm like, did I? How do I know I'm not a puppet? So let's see somebody else do it and see if they want to take all the credit. But I thought it was really cool. Like I had a lot of ideas. I wanted to be like a closed. So you might say, what's hyper autonomy about? Well, originally I was gonna frame it around this idea of like JFK Like he goes back in time. He goes back in time to try and prevent his own. Like, okay, what the way it works is you've got every president and in the United States, and they're all trying to solve this thing. Like each person, and it's like a fighting game or whatever. Not fighting game, but there's a team of presidents. The alternate title, no, anyway. And so JFK, like he's recruited by someone, I think some time traveler or whatever. He says, you got to go back in time and prevent yourself from being assassinated. And but it's not like geared towards violence. It's supposed to be like there's a discovery of like a kind of there's too many there's the timelines, like the more people that are able to access, like, because time travel is like a wave, like a frequency, and the more people, like, you know, bandwidth, you have limited bandwidth. The more people that are able to time travel, the less room there is. There's a finite amount of timelines that can possibly exist simultaneously. And so, in order to fix this problem, there being too many timelines, a former or several former presidents of the United States of America have to recruit JFK, because that's not necessarily where it all starts, but that's like a point where you're able to do work on that problem of too many timelines. And so, but I don't know. I couldn't. I'm not a guy who like sits in a room and says, "Oh, let me fucking make this shit," and then, "Oh, let me go and like show it to someone," and them say like, "Oh, okay, we're either going to keep making more of these or we won't," and, you know, have a team and talk to people and say like, "Oh, all right, let's get licensing and, you know, copyrights and all." Like I don't do that. That's not my. Like I say things and either people like them or they don't. But I'm not. Oh fuck! Oh god. Alright, anyway. So I just needed to be. But I don't know. I spent a lot of time on this. But it's not something I can necessarily. Anyway, so I wanted it to be like a combination of tabletop, but also electronic. There was a tabletop component to it, but there was also an electronic component. But it was a closed system, you know, like a LAN cafe. So there's an internet, or what's that called? An intranet. So everyone who has one of these devices, they're only on that system. So you can't connect directly to the internet and use the internet on these devices. I think anyway, like walkie-talkies, like very advanced walkie-talkies with a screen, you know, that type of thing. And so these are more like structural things. Now, what I'm saying is I've never seen like a tabletop game that had this quality, but I haven't like studied a whole bunch of tabletop games. I know they have online components, but I'm talking about like having a console attached to a tabletop game, a home gaming console with a tabletop component or aspect. Not necessarily complementary or supplementary, but like integrated. Like each game, you can make 2 games for each. Like if you have like a story or something, you can make the tabletop version. No, that's I don't like that either. Anyway, looks like it's getting kind of dark. Getting real dark. Okay, all right. Anyway, all right. I think that was. I hope I communicated what I needed to. Like I can't tell. Like I can't tell if I'm. You know, I would like to believe that I'm doing the right thing, but how would I ever know? How do you confirm that you are doing what you want to do and then ultimately is to your benefit? How would you know? How can you not know? That's something I say whenever someone's walking away from me. When they don't want to have a conversation, like they started the argument and I don't know if they started. Anyway, all right. Okay. I'm 33 years old, and I have the best grades on earth. What the fuck I gotta do?